haven't given you guys any notice about this live today, so I've just popped up out of nowhere, so hopefully we get a few people tune in. But anyway, welcome to the live Q and A that I do every now and then. And the reason I do my Q and A's, as you guys know, is I get a bucket load of people asking questions about arm wrestling technique and all that sort of stuff, and I just never get the chance to get back to everyone. So I thought I would do another live Q and A today. Sorry about this shaky camera, I'm just trying to set it up. That'll have to do. But yeah, so I do a lot of Q and A's just basically because I don't get the chance to write back to everybody, and I know that a lot of people want me to be able to answer questions, and I wish I could answer questions for everyone, but unfortunately I just don't get the ability to write answers back to everyone, so that's why I do these live Q&As. So g'day to my first viewer as you're starting to tune in. Thanks very much for coming in, man. If you've got any questions, shoot them through and I will start answering them. In the meantime, while you guys are thinking of any questions that you've got, I can start talking about what's coming up for me. I'm very, very close to announcing my first tournament that I'm going to be hosting. I know I've done the kind of Bishop Bowen thing before where it was a super match, but this one's going to be a tournament. It is of course going to be a qualifier for the Travis Bajan Super Series, and it's going to be the pound for pound arm wrestling championship. Pound for pound being obviously the brand of t-shirts that we're wearing here. The pound for pound arm wrestling championship is going to happen. I've got a date already. It is the 14th of April, Saturday the 14th of April. It's going to be a single elimination tournament. It's going to be much like Travis Bajan's Super Series final, and it should be awesome. So I'm days away from being able to announce that officially to the world and put the invitations out there for who would like to come. There should be prize money, all sorts of stuff. So that'll be pretty good. But looking forward to that. The next thing that I've got on my agenda that's going to be a big one is basically the Arnold's Classic. Arnold's Classic this year for me is on the weekend of March 16, and I'll be competing in the 95 kilo class representing Australia. The Arnold's Classic for us is kind of like our Oceanic Championships. We have the best from New Zealand, Southeast Asia, China, and this year we've got a few extra invites as well. I know Ron Barth's going to be there, Giannis Mullins I believe is going to be there. There's going to be quite a few people that are going to be there from the Northern Hemisphere as well. But that's going to be an awesome tournament. Danny Tesh is still probably the favourite to win it, although the Chinese guy, I can't remember his name, but the Chinese guy is dangerous as well, and I'm going to be mixing it up there. My right arm feels like it's in the best form it's ever been in, so I can't wait to get down to Arnold's Classic and have a crack at winning that 95 kilos category. I think I've got a great chance at it, so I haven't had such good preparation for a tournament in a long time. The amount of sort of arm power that I've added in the last couple of months has been really good, so that's been awesome. So I really can't wait for that. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on in my world at the moment. Just those two things. Training all the time. For me, what I'm trying to do, my brand is growing so nicely. I'm loving all the feedback from everybody in regards to the breakdown series that I'm doing on YouTube at the moment, where I'm kind of taking apart matches in a biomechanical sense and explaining what I'm seeing in each match. And because for me, you know, that's actually been one of the ways in which I have really shaped my whole arm wrestling philosophy. When I came to the sport of arm wrestling, I said to myself, I'm going to assume that when I go and watch a match on YouTube or whatever, I'm going to assume that the person who wins isn't winning simply because they're stronger. I'm going to assume they're winning because they're executing better. So right from the outset, I've been someone to study the biomechanics of arm wrestling, and I believe that being better than your opponent at understanding the biomechanics of when to move and how to instinctively react to different situations is going to put you in such a good stead for getting the victory. So for me, studying the biomechanics of arm wrestling is something that I have done right from the beginning of my time in the sport. So for 5 years I've been really closely studying the biomechanics of all the arm wrestlers that I look up to and that I kind of respect in the way that they move in that. So that's what that sort of breakdown series is all about for me. And yeah, and getting all the positive feedback from everybody has been amazing. So really have to say a big thank you to everybody for that, all the feedback and that. So man, it looks like we got a no-show today. Barely anybody tuning in for these questions. If no one's going to tune in, what I'll do for the next sort of 5 minutes, I might just talk about some of the common questions that I know that I do get. A lot of people ask me about top roll, hook. Not many people ask me about the press. They don't often see me pressing. So my answer to a lot of people when people say, hey, how do I had a recent question just yesterday, can you explain how to block a hook for me? And my general answer to people who kind of shoebox themselves into saying that they're a top roller or saying that they're a hooker is this, that you come into every single match with a different biomechanical matchup to your opponent. What I mean by that is your arm height might be longer, your arm height might be shorter, it might be the same, your hand size might be different. Each match, the biomechanics that you have really dictate where you should be going in the match. I don't believe you should be shoeboxing yourself into one particular move. If you go into every match with kind of just one angle in mind, and it's the same angle every single time, you really are putting yourself in a difficult position, because against some opponents that angle is going to really be an inefficient angle. So my belief is that to be the best arm wrestler you can possibly be, you should be adapting to every single opponent, and instead of going where you feel like you're strongest, you should be going where you know they are weakest based on their biomechanics. So how you block a top roll and all that sort of stuff is going to be very much dependent upon your biomechanical setup. If you are taller than that person, blocking a top roll is fairly simple with just a higher arm angle and a lower hand angle. You can very much block a top roll like that, where every time they go to top roll, you just add a little bit of lats and back pressure and their hand's going to crumble. Where if you were someone with a shorter arm, blocking a top roll is not going to work using that same method. You're going to have to go wrist up, arm forward, and get good clearance on your hand and be able to drag down with this knuckle here, particularly in the straps. And that would block a top roll, turn the top roller over. So how you block a top roll is very much going to be a different response depending on what shape and size you are relative to your opponent. So I guess my answer to that is work out your opponent, study your opponent, and when I say study your opponent, look at how long their arm is, look at how long their hand is, what type of arm wrestler are they? Are they offensive, defensive, explosive? Do they like to hold and squeeze? And how they move is going to dictate how you build your plan. So, sorry, I know I didn't give a specific answer there on exactly how to block a top roll, but there we go. I kind of gave an answer. But yeah, guys, a few more have tuned in the meantime. So if you have any questions for me, please do shoot it through now, and I will definitely answer it for you. I do these about once every week, every 2 weeks sort of thing, and of course these are designed just to be able to give you guys the opportunity to ask questions, because I know I do get a lot of messages through Facebook and Instagram and all that sort of stuff, and I don't get the chance to respond to most of the questions. So I like to do these every now and then so that I can give you guys the chance to ask me directly, and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. But yeah, that was a question I got yesterday about blocking top rolls. Whilst I'm waiting for you guys to ask some questions, what else can I answer? Another common question that I get. A lot of people are seeing me train with my static lifts at the moment. You'll see that I lifted the 104 kilos yesterday for the first time. A lot of people have been questioning why I use the suspended weights. Why don't I use dumbbells? The reason I don't use dumbbells when I'm doing the heavy static hold is simply because the dumbbells hurt my wrist. Holding a 100 kilo dumbbell is going to really crunch down on my wrist in crazy angles, so I don't like to do that. I like to go with the suspended weight. It's the same angles as though I was holding a dumbbell. I know plenty of people have tried to tell me, hey, you should open your arm up a whole lot more and lower your arm angle. I get that, but we're trying to recreate an arm wrestle, and so the theory is that I'm in that same position that an arm wrestle would start, and it's all about just staying tight there. So I've got to get quite heavy with the weights to be able to get that fatigue on. But if you haven't had a go at the old suspended weight static lift, go and have a crack. It's a lot of fun. I do my 1 rep max every day. I try to break my 1 rep max record every day. Whether I do it or I don't, I then scale down and I do some reps. I go down to about 40 kilos and I'll rep out 40 kilos in a static sense. So I just lock my arm, rep it out with my lower back, and I'll do 100, 200 reps or so on that. And every now and then I like to do a hold of about, like yesterday I did a 64 kilo hold. I did that one for 30 seconds at that Arm Wrestling angle as well. You'll see that one on Instagram if you want to go see that. That's where that one is. But yeah, so every day I'm doing my static holds. Every day I'm also working my hand incredibly as well. So the hand for me is still the biggest priority. I know if you've been following me for the last 2 months, it seems like I've been putting more emphasis on arm, but let me tell you that hand is still absolutely the biggest priority when it comes to arm wrestling. Hand is what will win you leverage. Hand is what will save you in a match. And when you win with hand, it is a lot more efficient than winning with arm. Alright, Sydney Thomas, question, thank you very much. Do you train extension, like reverse barbell curls or wrist extensions? I don't, thank you for the question there, Sydney. I don't train in any sort of progressive overload sense. I don't try to track my numbers and try to actually get particularly strong there. I do just for rehab sort of sake. Like I might just lean against the wall as a warm up sometimes and just do that extension of the wrist just to get something going the other way, and just to keep a little bit of balance. I know that I'm really quite kyphotic. I'm quite rounded over in the shoulders, so I try to do some extension work through my back as well, just to try to keep me open. But I don't do much. I do a lot more of the other way. Alrighty, hang on. Let's see if I can bring these questions back up. Alright, from Anthony Low, top roll low. G'day. How do you guys like Mask and Nanostad stay so high, dragging backward when their wrist is dumped? I'm getting good at the low hand top roll, but I can't keep that height. Lost it. But I can't keep that height, and my arm is the same length. Yeah, so how do we stay so high whilst dragging back with our wrist dumped? My answer to that is it's all in the pinky. Okay, a lot of people, when they're trying to low hand top roll, get too caught up with the pressure being on the top of their hand. Okay, the real key to a low hand top roll is your pinky and what I call chop. Okay, so drag is only as effective as your chop can handle. If you're dragging and just using the top of your hand, okay, your wrist is going to get really compromised. You're going to get sprain injuries in here, and you're going to get all sorts of nasty stuff. The key to the low hand top roll and having really strong back pressure and the ability to stop hookers, and this is how Matt Mask and Nanostad and all that sort of stuff arm wrestle, is this knuckle right here. Okay, so you got to get that point right there. Good connection. Okay, as soon as you feel the bottom of your hand slipping off, if you're starting to pronate and the bottom of your hand is slipping off your opponent, then you're doing it wrong. Okay, you need to take a deep grip, lock that chop down and drag back, and no matter what, keep that chop locked on. If you feel it slipping off, not happening. So that's the key, man. That's the key to having monstrous back pressure in a low hand top roll, without losing or compromising your wrist in any way. Good stuff. Thanks for the question. Next one from LZZZ Incorporated. What stuff could I buy? Do static lifts. Greetings and thank you from Ohio. No dramas, man. Mate, one of the best things about arm wrestling is that it is a sport where you can live being a champion in your garage. So, in terms of static lifts, like you see what I do, man. It's pretty simple. I have a strap. I have a big strap that I just tie anything around. I currently have a 64 kilo kettlebell, and then I add 2 20 kilo plates as well for my 104 kilos. So if you want to get some static work up, tie anything, dumbbells, bucket of sand, like anything, just weigh it, tie it on. That's the best thing about the suspended method, is you don't need to hold it all up. You can just tie it onto a big strap and you can do that static work. So that's a really easy answer. What you actually buy from Home Depot, I have no idea, but anything, man, anything heavy that you can tie to a strap will work. So, but the weights that I'm using in my static holds, like I said, I go as light as 40 kilos for my static holds. I do a lot of reps. When I say reps, my arm angle isn't actually opening, and I just rep with my back. But yeah, all right. Scott L is asking, have you tried sit-down arm wrestling? If so, do you train differently? I haven't been in a competition sit-down arm wrestling, but I have tried it. It is very different. It is so much harder to top roll. It is so much harder to take someone's wrist. It is all about inside arm wrestling. So it's very hard to finish too. Very hard to finish. It's harder to get behind. So I would say if you were going to do inside arm wrestling, you want to be able to just be a really strong hooker and have a really strong shoulder press. Because the shoulder press is where the majority of matches finish when you're on a sit down. Yeah, all right. What do we got? Sport Diego, what variations could we do for finger strength? And greetings from Brazil. Finger strength. Thank you for the question, Sport Diego. I do believe that finger strength is incredibly important, and that's probably, in my opinion, a certain component of finger strength. This one right here, the ability to go like that, I actually think is the most important strength in arm wrestling. I would say right there, that is so critical. If you can do that, you can intimidate and you can control your opponent's setup, and you can control your opponent's access to just about every move there is. So finger strength for me, the way I do that is with my plates. Go jump on one of my I think it was in the Daily Arm Wrestle episode 76 or 78, but if you search in YouTube plate strapping explained, you'll see an episode that I did, and that is my favorite way and to train the fingers. You'll see that I do a whole heap of different things with a plate strapped to my hand. I just strap a 10 kilo plate to my hand, and yeah, bucket loads of variations from there. But yes, finger strength is incredible. I don't worry about grippers. Okay, squeezing, no good. So it's about developing this open hand finger strength right up here. That's the most important finger strength in arm wrestling. Oh, it is hot. It is hot down here. I'm sitting in my car, as you can see. It's raining outside, but it is incredibly humid. So I've got the windows up so I don't get wet. But it is so hot down here in Australia right now, in the middle of summer. But anyway, any more questions, guys? They've all been really good questions so far, so I really do appreciate everything. But I'll stick around for about another 5 minutes if you guys still have questions. Otherwise, I will wrap it up. But keep them coming. Keep them coming. The good questions so far today. Alrighty, so it doesn't look like we're going to get any more questions. I might give you guys 30 more seconds to ask a question, otherwise I will wrap it up. But in the meantime, oh, hang on, here we go. Just as I say it. Alright, from 9 Pucha. Hi Ryan, is there an effective way to train your side pressure? Okay, side pressure for me is a very interesting one. I haven't typically trained side pressure throughout my 5 years in arm wrestling. I've always focused almost exclusively on Rudy lifts, mate, big enough. But yeah, sorry, back to side pressure. Side pressure is not something that I've trained exclusively. It has been predominantly hand, but I think that on my game, side pressure, I'm always about identifying the weakest link. I wouldn't worry about, like, side pressure is largely pec and shoulder in terms of where the engine rooms are. But the weakest link in most people's side pressure, assuming they've got hand control. Remember, if you don't have your hand, this is going to be a very difficult time. If your wrist is back and your palm is up, you've got no side pressure. If your palm is sideways, you've got some. If your palm is sideways and you've got your wrist, there's more. So I'm going to assume that you've got your hand. This connection down here, these tendons in the base of the elbow, at the base of the flexors, they are the weakest link in side pressure. So I actually think that your pecs and your shoulders and everything else is more than capable of way more side pressure, if only you could condition this tendon more so. So I think the key to getting more side pressure is to do light to medium reps, thousands of them, as often as you can, on any movement that targets that connective tissue. So for me, expose your arm, get sideways, use a band, and sit there, back and forth until that tendon becomes so conditioned that your pecs and shoulders can actually work hard without overloading that. Alrighty, next question from Lynn Nguyen. Why do you do the super heavy belt hammer curl? Has it really benefited your game over time? And does it result in elbow pain? I do it, and how often do you do it? Thanks, Lynn. I do it every day. I do my 1 rep max every day. I did answer this one before, but I'll give you it quickly. I do this every day, 1 rep max. It's all about simulating my start position of an arm wrestle and not allowing my arms to open up at all. Okay, so I have a 90 degree in my arm, but my forearm is normally at about 45 degrees angle as well. So yes, I know it's not the most efficient angle for the weight. It's not the most difficult angle to go with, but it is the angle that I start in an arm wrestle. And it's an incredibly beneficial strength to have because it's that setup position. And 99.9% of matches are won in the setup. So being able to have a stronger static position for your setup will allow you to dictate the terms of the arm wrestle and should allow you to win. So yes, it's been very, very beneficial for me. I win all my matches in my setup, and this is just supercharging my setup in terms of what I can do. So did I miss any components of the question? Sorry, let me remind myself. Do I get elbow pain? No, zero elbow pain. The actual reason why I do the suspended weight lift is because there's less pain. If you have a look at the angles that I'm on, it's the same angle that you often see people doing static holds with big dumbbells. But my experience with dumbbells is if I pick up a super heavy dumbbell, it crushes down on my wrist too much, and it hurts a lot. So the suspended weight is a lot safer for me. It's easier to put down. It's easier to get into the right position for. And yeah. And Sport Diego, thank you. Explosive start or a controlled start? Interesting question. I think that comes down to again the style of arm wrestler you are. You got to know yourself. I'm a very offensive arm wrestler. I get the job done quick. I've always been explosive. In every sport that I've ever played, I've always been an explosive athlete as opposed to a defensive and endurance-based athlete. So for me, I'm all about an explosive start. Mind you, it depends again. It comes down to the biomechanics. Like if I'm against someone with a shorter arm than me, who's got more power in their arm than me, then I'm going to be thinking differently. So again, studying the biomechanics and understanding your opponent, what they bring to the table, is going to dictate the way you move as well. Because sometimes it's definitely better to just squeeze for hand control and use no side pressure off the go than it is to just go straight outside pressure. So it's very much going to be dependent. But generally speaking, I would say I am a offensive style arm wrestler, so I would definitely be doing more of that than the other. But yeah, come down to your biomechanics. Alrighty guys, that looks like it is it for questions. I have to say a big thank you to everybody for tuning in. If you have any recommendations for the breakdown series, let me know, and I would love to do them. Hang on, Bob's just asked a question. I'll let him get it in. Serious question. Do arm wrestlers use hand sanitizer after arm wrestling a lot of blokes? Mate, I definitely wash my hands after a session. Some of my Wednesday night sessions at the Brisbane Heavy Hitters are hot, so there's a lot of sweat going on. But yeah, anyway. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. I will see you guys again next time. And yeah, awesome.